On today's episode of The Unwritten Rule, I have a bunch of stuff to dive into. We're going to be talking some portal additions, a couple of guys Mizzou got. One from Alabama. I think that's the biggest Alabama news this week, if I'm remembering right. So talk about that. We're going to talk about some comments Drinkwitz had at a summit on the new defensive coordinator, kind of overread, maybe put on our conspiracy theory hats a little bit. And then we're going to talk a couple guys who declared for the NFL draft as well. Then we'll kick it to ourselves with some more Mizzou stuff. We went through the kind of top 2025 guys in the state of Missouri. So we gave kind of a rundown on who those guys are, just doing a big look ahead and kind of where Mizzou stands with some of them. Then we also recapped the men's basketball game against Kentucky, took a look ahead at South Carolina, must-win game coming up for Mizzou. Then we finished with quick hits, jerseys of the week, Unwritten's Fantastic Four picks. It's super wild card weekend, so we picked a bunch of those games. Shawnee's Maine Birds, the best things we learned, and finished out the show. So yeah, great show for you. And Kenny, who's this show presented by?
The show is presented by Bet Online. This is my first time doing the read. I hope Bet Online enjoys it and enjoys my company. With NFL playoffs right around the corner and the NBA season in full swing, Bet Online has you covered with all the up to the second odds, news, and scores. With additional odds, lines, trends, and info on both desktop and mobile, you can access the world's best wagering information anytime. And we know Jack just mentioned the Fantastic Four picks. That's where we get our odds. It's the odds that you hear on the show and you see on our social media account. Head there today to get into the action to see all the updated odds. Remember to use promo code BLEAV, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, where the game starts, and the Unwritten Rule starts right now.
Marcel, where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, alongside Peyton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
Welcome back to the Unwritten Rule. Today is Friday, January 12th. We got a whole bunch to dive into, Kenny and Peyton, starting with some new blood on Mizzou football's roster. Pun very much intended. That's right. We got a couple transfers to talk to. We're going to dive into also, I teased in the intro, some of the 2025 recruits as well. I'm excited. I think we dove into that pretty well just to kind of like give a glimpse ahead, in the long term. But in the meantime, new blood on the Mizzou football roster because they've got a transfer in and a quarterback, Harold Blood, the brother of Daniel Blood. So now we have two Bloods on the Mizzou football team coming in next year. Harold Blood comes in from Southern, I believe. He had 1,900 passing yards, 13 touchdowns, 11 picks, sacked 32 times, which felt like a lot to me. And then I looked up how much Shedeur Sanders has been sacked. He was sacked the most times in FBS. How many times do you guys think Shedeur Sanders was sacked last year? Quick trivia.
In the 50s, probably, like 52.
Give a guess.
54. 54.
There's a stat patter. Let's go a little bit lower.
Sacked?
I'll go, because he doesn't throw the ball away.
Right.
Yeah,
so
he hates throwing the ball away.
46. 56 was how many times he was sacked. So good
Dang.
job. Well done, Peyton. Yeah, so a lot. But anyway, Harold Blood, I guess with this, we can just touch on it quickly. Obviously, he's probably not sniffing the starting job with Brady Cook. But I wonder, doesn't have great numbers. I think we even said because he's the brother of Daniel Blood, it's a little bit of maybe even a nepotism thing. But is this an all right measuring stick maybe for Sam Horn to show like, okay, if he beats out this guy for the backup job, does that say anything about him, or is even that kind of a reach?
This guy is going to be the fourth string.
Okay.
Quite straight up. I mean, this guy's a preferred walk-on. They're not even giving him a scholarship. This is pretty much just a guy that they're having on the roster because it's cool to say him and Daniel Blood can play together. I mean, he, as you said, not great stats at a lower level. I mean, this guy's not going to be the backup or anything like that. It's going to be Sam Horn. And then I think Glover will be right behind him. But again, I mean, it really maybe what they could do if they're up big in a game. I saw somebody on Twitter suggest this. I feel bad. I don't remember who tweeted it. Maybe if Mizzou's up big in a game, they can get Harold and Daniel Blood in the same game, have them complete a pass to each other. I think that'd be a cool moment for them. But no, this guy is not going to play one actual snap for Mizzou. I would be really, something would probably have to go insanely wrong for that to happen. Also, we're going to be talking about the 2025 recruits. I like the gimmick change that we decided to change shirts and all our clothes before we talk about the 2025 recruits.
I think I said we kicked it to ourselves from before doing it, but
dang it.
I might have killed
that. My joke is ruined.
Yeah, sorry. I won't do that next time. I'll just pretend we all record this. Every show we record
seamless.
one day. Yeah, all in one day. Kenny, you got any thoughts on Harold Blood and such?
Yeah, he'll just be a signal caller with Tommy Locke. Just two guys that are probably around with that scout team, getting these guys prepared for the next week. Interested to see what color. Was it a penny that you wear over your uniform? Yeah, and then he'll have the headphones on. So, I mean, it would be really cool to see him connect with Daniel. I've talked to Daniel a couple times in the recruiting process when he flipped from Louisiana to Mizzou. He caught his lone pass last year against LSU. Big moment for him coming from Destrehan. Both of these guys are huge high school in the state of Louisiana, especially for wide receivers. If you know Destrehan, it's because of Justin Jefferson.
There's that LSU knowledge and Louisiana knowledge flexing. I think we're pretty locked in then with a Cook, Horn, Glover 1, 2, 3 going into next year.
Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Unless Jalen Milroe.
Unless Jalen Milroe
to the portal.
Good segue. Good segue, because we have one other guy joining, of course, in the transfer portal, Isaiah Hastings. He's a defensive lineman from Alabama. Only played 4 snaps in 2022. Did get a tackle and then did not play this season. Alabama, one of the better defenses in the country. But I mean, hey, Isaiah Hastings to the Tigers. That's the biggest news out of Tuscaloosa this week. I mean, I think that's pretty safe to say. We definitely haven't anything else happen. No, we wanted to segue this because I think we should talk about Saban a little bit. But Hastings, real quick, hasn't played much, but it still seems like a pretty good addition. I mean, he was a Bama guy. I think he was a former higher-ish end 4-star, if I remember right. I'll look it up to make sure. But yeah, thoughts on that? Some more depth on the D line.
Yeah, I believe he was in at least 2 top 250 prospects when he was coming out of high school. This is the 3rd defensive tackle Mizzou has taken. Obviously, they got kind of gutted there, just lost a lot of eligibility with guys departing. So it was going to be kind of an area they had to hit hard, and boy, they have done just that. McClellan, Webb, and Hastings. You can do a lot worse than that in the portal, I'm sure. Interesting thing about Hastings, I'm sure people will look at his stats and be like, what's up with that? But, I mean, this is a guy that had interest from a lot of other Power 5 schools. This guy was, he played, it's interesting. He grew up in Canada, actually. And then he came down to the States in high school. Didn't have a whole ton of time to play. So he's still pretty raw. Obviously, we saw what Bama thought of what he could become, taking a chance on someone like that. He just couldn't find the playing time there because it's freaking Bama. It's hard to break into the rotation there. And I noticed this. Someone he reminds me a bit of just from in terms of their journey. This isn't a player comp. It's kind of like Realist George. Realist George, of course, transferred in from Miami. Didn't have a lot of career stats there. Wound up being a pretty solid rotational piece for Mizzou in his time here. Hopefully that's something Hastings can become as well.
Yeah, keep going back to our conversation with Gabe DeArmond just about transfer portal, about guys on the Tigers' radar, and that conversation about, if they miss out on McClellan, who are they going to go after? Are they going to go after anyone? And Peyton, you said it perfectly. It was gutted. The defensive line was definitely an area, along with some of the cornerbacks, that I felt a little bit worried about going into next season, especially with the loss of Chris Abrams-Drain and Cad at the cornerbacks and all the seniors and guys who ran out of eligibility on that defensive line, guys going to the draft. This is a good way to just turn it into D-line transfer U. He saw it really well with the D tackle position the last 3 seasons. Keep moving forward with guys like Chris McClellan. and Isaiah Hastings, two SEC guys staying in the
Right.
conference and, finding a better opportunity elsewhere with an SEC school on the rise.
I'm trying to remember who said this too, to go back to some of the other conversations we've had with people. It might have been Alan True who said this, but like that is important, that SEC, like they come from the same conference, even if they didn't play that much, they've been in an SEC program. They know what it takes to get to the level to play for another SEC school. They just kind of need to find that right situation. So for McClellan and Hastings, I think, there's some promise there. I can give a little more background. He was sitting behind Justin Aboybe and Tim Smith at Alabama. Aboybe was one of the better defensive linemen in the country last year, and Tim Smith, very good as well. So, there wasn't really going to be a path to playing time. It doesn't really take anything away from his talent. But, oh yeah, and segueing also, we should do that. We're going to talk about Drinkwitz and some of the comments he made about Blake Baker, but I think we would have probably had this in quick hits. We pre-recorded quick hits, of course, in the hours before this news dropped. But Isaiah Hastings getting off a sinking ship maybe in Tuscaloosa because Nick Saban, I'm kidding, but Nick Saban retiring from Alabama is pretty big news. I mean, from a Mizzou standpoint, some people, at least fans and even some analysts, are like, they were pegging the Tigers to go 11-1 with a lone loss to Alabama. Those people are at least coming out and saying, hey, Mizzou can go 12-0 now. I think it was Callum McAndrew that pointed out, I mean, they're playing 3 of their road games are against teams that are going to have first-year head coaches now with Saban leaving. But just overall, I mean, it's going to have a huge impact on the conference, college football. I think it's an important SEC point to bring up. But I think it sure should give Mizzou fans maybe some more hope that the Tigers can pull off an upset in Tuscaloosa.
Not even just that. I mean, Nick Saban, he recruits himself, really. I mean, Alabama was not recruiting itself, really, before Nick Saban got there and won just a million championships. So you got to think at least some guy. I mean, Ryan Williams decommitted like within the hour of Nick Saban retiring yesterday. Alabama, I mean, you're likely to see some roster turnover. I'm sure Alabama will get whoever the hell they want to take that job, but well, evidently not. Dan Lanning was the front runner, and he is not going to Tuscaloosa. He tweeted a video that he's staying at Oregon, but you're likely to see some roster turnover, and suddenly Isaiah Hastings, I mean, that feels like a more important pickup. He can tell his former teammates, like, hey, come play at Mizzou or something like that. I mean, it is just that is the way I look at it for Mizzou. And obviously next year, it's still, yes, it's not Nick Saban. Nobody in the country is as good as Nick Saban. Nobody probably ever will be as good as Nick Saban. But it's likely still to be a loss to me. It's still Alabama. Alabama's going to get a great head coach in there, whether it be Lane Kiffin, Steve Sarkisian, Mike Norvell, whoever it is. I'd still expect Bama to be the same old Bama.
For those who don't know, the transfer portal did close on January 6th. That was 4 days before Nick Saban announced his retirement. But because of the NCAA rules, the transfer portal reopens for Alabama players for 30 days, starting on the day that he officially left the program. So that was January 10th. So into February, these guys can jump around as they wish, trying to find that place if they want to leave Alabama. And we've started to see a lot of commits decommitting, players responding, dang, this sucks. But I also really like the ones from the recruits that were like, it was an honor to be recruited by Nick Saban. I mean, Nick Saban coming into my home or going into his office. That's that's like the biggest photo in the recruiting world. If you follow it, is seeing a recruit in Nick Saban's office. It's always the same photo right in front of the rings. He has them laid out. It's a huge honor for these kids to have been in that conversation. And that was one of the best things I took away from the recruiting front.
Yeah. I mean, well said. I'm definitely like, someone who's relatively new on the Alabama beat, you very quickly get a sense of just what Nick Saban brought, I guess, to that program and the culture setter that he was. So yeah, it's a tall task. I think it makes this job search even more interesting, not just from a Alabama perspective, like who are they going to find to fill it, but also from the person looking at it and saying, well, shoot, I'm going to have so much expectations on me. Am I better off at a Texas or at a Florida State kind of continuing to do what I'm doing? I mean, we saw Dan Lanning kind of say that for Oregon. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. It makes this upcoming season all the more exciting for sure. But we'll see. Yeah, maybe Isaiah Hastings was just needing to be a beacon. Have him come one, come all to Columbia. Caleb Downs, refresh that secondary, win a, defensive player of the year award. I don't know. I don't know who to go, but that would be something. He might be in terms of the most valuable
safety
player
prospect ever.
Yeah, that would be, Milrose great. They have some running backs who are good. If they lose Caleb Downs, that would be the biggest loss by far and away. That guy is really, really good. But we'll see. Luther Burden's going to burn him in November or in October. But yeah, Peyton gave me a face.
It's not me doubting Luther Burden. It's me.
It'll be a good matchup.
Very much thinking Caleb Downs is better than everyone else in the country.
It'll be a good matchup. But yeah, I think we had to touch on that. It's going to be interesting. Obviously, they're in a coaching search. They said they were going to fill it within 72 hours yesterday. So it doesn't seem like the search in theory is going to last too long. Although now with being unable to get Lanning, who knows? We'll see what happens. But we're following it. And speaking of coaching, I mean, Alabama's got a DC role still to fill in addition to their head coach, and Mizzou has a DC role to fill. And there were some interesting comments from Eli Drinkwitz over just these past couple of days. I forget exactly which day it was, but he was at a coaching summit. He was talking and just kind of also talking about the culture that he set and the relationship he had with Blake Baker. And then, kind of said, oh, and the next guy I bring in is going to be great too and going to have that same culture. As on Tuesday, he did this summit. I'm going to put my I don't know, conspiracy theory, whatever, tinfoil hat on for a second. Read between the lines. Does that imply maybe that Drinkwitz is at least exploring, bringing an outside hire? We've talked about DJ Smith. I don't know. I guess it's just kind of an excuse to get general updates from you guys, like on a kind of how that DC search is going. We talked, I think, a good bit about it already, but I just thought it was a little interesting. He said the next guy we bring in, well, DJ Smith's already there. He's already the co-defensive coordinator. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, Kenny, I know you go first. What do you got?
Yeah. Well, if you're thinking it from that point of view of like a guy coming out, I mean, it's been from out of the program. It's been a couple days now. It'll be a week, I think, tomorrow. That Blake Baker took this job at LSU, recording on a Thursday. That makes you think, but it makes you think that they Tigers are looking out of the program if it's taking this long. If DJ Smith was the guy, I feel like the job would have gone there. But they have to. They have to look around, find the best options. We talked about some guys that maybe we thought could fill that role for around the SEC, around other Power 5 programs that could move in to Columbia. But at the same time, I think you just have to. You have to look around. I think even when Blake Baker joined this program and everyone knew that, this guy's probably going to move into the DC role. He has experience at Miami, has experience as an assistant role at LSU. He was going to get it. But at the same time, you need to replace one of the best defensive coordinators in the SEC and all of Power 5 football last year. You have to look around.
Yeah, I don't think they, no matter if they were going to promote DJ Smith or not, I think they were going to interview external candidates. Honestly, the longer it goes on, the less likely it becomes DJ Smith becomes the DC. I kind of don't think he'll be the DC at this point. I don't really know. We've heard absolutely nothing about this search. It's just been really just more putting some puzzle pieces together that make sense. Someone that does make sense that I don't think we mentioned last time is Greg Gasparotto. He is now the DC at Tulane. He was the DC at Troy last year. He was their interim coach for the bowl game. But he followed John Sumrall over to Tulane. He is a guy that does have connections with Drinkwitz. He's a young guy. Definitely makes sense as a candidate there. I don't really think the comments Drinkwitz made at the summit, more or less imply much of anything, other than I have to have a DC at some point. But honestly, if it was going to be DJ Smith, I was pretty sure it would have happened by now, and it hasn't. So probably are looking at an outside candidate by now.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I mean, I said when we talked about it last time, like I wanted to see this team do their due diligence and at least like consider, you know, who else is out there besides just, kind of having some tunnel vision and going with DJ Smith. Again, not to take anything away from DJ Smith. I don't think any of us are, but yeah, you're right. I think, Paige, you make a really good point. The more this kind of goes on, the quieter it is right now, the more you're like, well, why haven't they just said we're going to plug DJ Smith into that role already? So we'll see. Obviously, we'll keep everyone posted. I think Peyton, Greg, I think Gerard wrote an article about him too, talking about the possibility for him. So maybe that's a target that emerges. We'll see. Obviously, we'll keep track when news comes out about the search. We'll have it. We'll break it down. And I mean, hopefully DJ Smith stays on in that co-defensive coordinator linebackers coach role because he's great at it and he does have good experience. You guys mentioned he's a drink guy. He was with him at App State. So definitely something we'll keep an eye on. I'm glad my tinfoil hat conspiracy theory isn't totally, ill-willed or whatever you want to call it. But y'all have anything else?
Available as well.
Bill Belichick is available. Can he put Lovey Smith in the chat in all caps?
Was Pete Carroll an offensive guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's offensive.
Dan Quinn.
Yeah, he also has a job.
Nick Saban?
Nick Saban.
Yeah, we
Matt
talked
Patricia?
about Pete, but in the hours since we recorded Quick Hits yesterday, we've had Bill Belichick and Nick Saban retire. So thanks, news. Thanks, news dump. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. Speaking of the NFL, two more guys that we had declare for the NFL draft on defense: Josh Landry and Chad Bailey. Landry, of course, the transfer from Baylor, had 32 tackles this year. Bailey got hurt. He only played in 4 games. Still had 17 tackles, a sack, and a forced fumble. Was in that other starting linebacker role along with Hopper before he got injured. Thoughts on these two? We're just we need to make a full list. There's too many guys to declare for the draft now. It's gonna be a fun pro day, all those things. But yeah, Landry and Bailey off to the NFL.
Yeah, Chad Bailey, bummer for him. He couldn't finish out what felt like his 18th season in college football. He was really, really good for Mizzou last year. I really think I think Chuck Hicks and Tristan Newsome did an admirable job. I still think Bailey could have elevated the defense just that much more. I don't know what his NFL future holds. He has been battered by injuries, which is a shame for him, but I do hope he lands somewhere.
Yeah, I liked what Chad Bailey offered in coverage as well. PFF graded him as one of the best linebackers in the SEC the last 2 seasons. He decided to come back for that 6th season, and it just really didn't play out his way. I hope that he gets that opportunity somewhere at least. Really kind of went through the meat grinder this year, but for a guy like Josh Landry, I think we mentioned before, wish he had a couple more years of eligibility just because he was great depth. Played through a broken wrist last season for a couple games at a club on. Guy's a bruiser. One of those defensive tackles that transferred from Baylor. Part of the defensive line transfer U, and he did really well with the Tigers.
Yeah, he is kind of the definition of solid, isn't he? Especially because he played with a club on. That's badass. We will miss Josh Landry and Chad Bailey. I am buying stock on Tristan Newsome though. I don't know why. I feel like he's gonna have a good year. I got a good feeling Tristan Newsome. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on kind of where draft stock goes. It's mock draft season. We'll be looking, especially as the NFL playoffs wind down. That's where all the attention will go. With that, we will kick to ourselves. We had a good convo about the 2025 guys in the state of Missouri, and then recapped men's basketball as well. So we'll segue to that. Okay, we'll segue. We're going to continue on talking about some recruiting. We had a comment on the YouTube. Thank you for that. Subscribe to the YouTube if you're watching this and are not subscribed. We appreciate it. But we had a comment on the YouTube kind of talking about recruiting, doing, kind of a bigger look ahead. So we're going to take a look at some of the top 2025 guys in the state of Missouri. I think Peyton has one outside the state of Missouri as well, just to kind of dive into, give a glimpse, never too early to take a look at some of those lists, see who kind of Mizzou is targeting. There's a couple guys, actually outside of or who are being targeted by teams outside of Missouri. And that's actually, I think I'm going to start there before we get into the individual players we highlighted, because, this feels kind of relevant because we've had Caden Green, we've had the Lee Summit to Oklahoma, now back to Mizzou. Kind of pipeline seemed to open up, and there's two guys in here: Isaiah Mosey, who is not committed to Oklahoma, but is heavily, at least is like forecast on 24/7 is at 100% Oklahoma. He's the #1 player in the state of Missouri, the 4-star wide receiver. And then another guy, Kamori Moore, the defensive lineman, who is committed to Oklahoma. They're both Lee Summit kids. And so I just think it's interesting. This might be a potential. Again, it's 2025, so Missouri kind of has a long way to go, but there's two names for you. I don't know if y'all have any thoughts on them, but just this kind of Lee Summit to Oklahoma pipeline still feels a little real. And then, again, maybe you see whether, Drinkwitz comes in and tries to get these guys to flip while they're still recruits, or, maybe they turn in, I think I texted Kenny that they could be the next Caden Greens and kind of go to Missouri on the back burner.
It's important to note that Lee Summit North's head coach is Jamar Mosey, who used to play at Oklahoma. So I don't think it's fair to necessarily say he pushes guys to Oklahoma. That doesn't really happen. I mean, Williams Nwaneri just committed to Mizzou. Caden Green originally went to Oklahoma, but now he's coming back to Mizzou. So I don't think it necessarily he's pushing guys that way, but it certainly helps Oklahoma recruit it more easier because there's a natural link there. Isaiah Mosey, who I believe is Jamar Mosey's son, as you said, Knowlton, he's the top guy in Missouri. I know there's probably a lot of crystal balls in for him to Oklahoma. There's still a long ways to go. Missouri has had him on campus, so I would not say this one is anywhere close to over. Also, keep an eye. Any Kansas City area kid, you have to keep an eye on Oregon, especially. Dan Lanning is from there. He coached at Park Hill South, which is, fun fact, the high school I went to. He coached Park Hill South for a good number of years, so he's very familiar with the area. He's a William Jewell grad, which is in Liberty, which is in the Northland of Kansas City. So you got to watch out for all of them. But, most of these guys, right now, you see Jamarian Parker, one of the top recruits in Missouri, is committed to Arkansas. So I guess he just really isn't in much. He doesn't care much about winning. But all of these guys, a large amount of them are still wide open. Carson Boyd, I know that is someone Missouri is at least interested if they haven't already had him on campus. I know they want to get him on campus just from everything I've read. But yeah, we saw it. We were concerned about it with this past recruiting class in 2024, not locking down the borders too heavily. They got Nwaneri, but a lot of the rest of Missouri got picked over. Doesn't mean that you can't have recruiting success. This is still the 2024 class has turned out to be another one of the highest rated in school history, which just seems to be a theme under Drink. But you want to keep guys in state, and I'm sure there will be a concerted effort to get more than a few of these guys, at least in the top 10, to stay in state.
Yeah, Drinkwitz and his staff did show good works out of the state, pulling some of the top guys out of Arkansas. And you start there with Courtney Crutchfield. And I think that's where you kind of make up for what you missed out when you look at that 2024 class and all these different logos and teams on where these guys signed and committed. One thing about Isaiah Mosey is that his top 3 right now is Oklahoma, Oregon, and Tennessee. Those are the 3 that he is the most interested in, according to 247. A guy I wanted to throw out there that I've just seen his name a couple times is someone on the opposite side of the state in Eureka, is Alex Lang, who's an offensive tackle, 4-star, number 2, according to Rivals and 247 in the state of Missouri. A lot of fans are pushing for him right now. It seems that way. But the thing that really sticks out to me is that this is the first full year that we get to see Brandon Jones on the recruiting trail. A guy who came in at the end of spring last year in May, becoming the offensive line coach for the Tigers. This is his opportunity to build his offensive line of the future. And I think Jack Lang is a great one to start with.
Yeah, he looks solid. Like you said, he's that number 2 guy out of Eureka. I had a couple names, and then Peyton, I also, I knew you have an out-of-state guy too. you know, I was looking at a guy in Dayton Hopkins and then DeJarian Miller. Miller interested me. You know, he's a wide receiver, obviously, you know, already that pipeline. You can kind of point to so many guys, you know, when you're recruiting these guys. But he's someone, he's out of Cardinal Ritter in St. Louis. Of course, Marvin Burks and Joe Moore, who were on this last year's Mizzou roster, both went there. So just like kind of a high school to watch. You know, clearly one that Drink knows how to recruit. He was offered back in September. And then Dayton Hopkins, he's like a weak side defensive end. Interesting, at least on Rivals, it says he was recruited by Eric Link. You know, obviously these guys can be recruited by any position. It doesn't have to be, you know, necessarily just their position coach. And, you know, Link maybe sees some value in him, maybe on special teams, you know, just early on, but he is 6'6", 210. And I wonder, I didn't get a chance to look into this. I don't know if he's played anything on the offensive side of the ball. Maybe Link, tight ends coach, maybe he sees some potential of him switching to that side of the ball. Obviously still a long way away, but he does have kind of that tight end build. So that's again, Hopkins, and then Miller. Those guys are ranked 5th and 6th in the state, right before Kamori Moore, who we said is going to Oklahoma, both 3-stars. So those are two guys I was looking at. Kenny, I know you had another guy just to highlight, and then Peyton, you're out of stater. You got a guy from the great state of Iowa.
Yeah, Will Tompkins. Oh, I was gonna go for just quick because this guy, Will Tompkins, he is a 3-star according to Rivals from Iowa, but he has offers from all over the map. I mean, just within the last few minutes of us recording, he picked up an offer and tweeted one from Duke. He is set to visit Kansas for their junior day this weekend. This is according to Alan True, a friend of the show. And then after that, Minnesota, Missouri, Iowa State, and Tennessee will also get visits. He doesn't have a Missouri offer just yet, but I'd expect that to change as soon as he gets on campus. So that's one to keep an eye on as well. He is a 270, 6'5" offensive tackle from Iowa.
I know there's a lot of guys in recent recruiting classes as well that they were trying to go in and get some offensive linemen out of Iowa. We know that there's a lot of big guys, a lot of farm guys that are up there. And Grant Bricks was one that had on campus a couple times in class of 2024. He didn't go too far away. He ended up going to Nebraska, and he was a 4-star offensive tackle that was an All-American bowl player. So there's a lot of talents up there, especially at the offensive line position. Sticking on that side of the ball, though, Corey Sims, who's ranked the number 3 in the state of Missouri for the class of 2025, is someone that's been on campus 4 times, according to Rivals. Of course, not too far away at Christian Brothers in St. Louis. But Jacob Peeler looks like he's making quick work with Corey Sims. And this would be someone, you know, big to get, because you look at a lot of the wide receivers in the St. Louis area, especially the highly rated ones. They get picked off a lot of times. Someone like Ryan Wingo, Corey Sims might not be to the Ryan Wingo status here in the next couple months, but someone that picked up a lot of steam from out-of-state schools, especially Power 5. Keeping Corey Sims close to home, keeping him in the state of Missouri would be huge for this team moving forward. We can praise Jacob Peeler enough for how much he's done on the recruiting trail and just coaching of these wide receivers.
Yeah, the most secret story of college football, I think, is what Peyton said he was the other day. I think the kind of overarching thing with this is, you know, you could look at this 2025 list and not see any Missouri commits just yet on there. And then, you know, you kind of have to understand there's one a long way to go. And if, you know, you're worried about Oklahoma and Arkansas, you know, kind of having their hands on some of these pickups, like, I don't know. I think we've seen Drink not only have success in flipping guys, but also, you know, you can come back and get them in the portal later. So Missouri seems like they're on the right track so far in 2025. The other guy I'll throw in there, down all the way on the bottom, number 20, Brady Davidson, the quarterback from Rockbridge, local product. I think it would just be a fun story. Get him in there, maybe develop him, goes from Columbia to Columbia and just becomes a hometown hero. I don't know. He doesn't seem like a super highly rated quarterback.
We said the same thing about Sam Kaiser.
We did.
And now he's going to Harvard.
Yeah,
I think Sam Kaiser wasn't as highly rated as this guy was. Sam Kaiser lost his job to this guy. I would think that this one has a better opportunity at the Power 5 level.
Brady Davidson's offers, however, only right now are Ohio and Miami of Ohio. So we'll see. He's still a long way left. You know, he's got 2 more seasons of college football, so we'll see. But yeah, it's I think overall Missouri's, doing a decent job with some of these 2025 guys. I think we'll have our eyes, we'll keep kind of a short list. It's good to just kind of check in and see. And obviously that Isaiah Mosey situation, one to monitor. Peyton said his top 3 doesn't include Mizzou at the moment, or at least the top 3 with teams interested, but you never know kind of what can change there.
I got one more thing to note.
Yeah.
For anyone confused, Mizzou doesn't have any commits at this moment for the class of 2025, and we've seen Drinkwitz and his staff make more work at the end of the class, at the end of the cycle, flipping guys late, stealing signees at the last second. Nothing to really worry about right now. I mean, they just finished the class of 2024 and probably still monitoring some guys before the next signing day in February. So right now there's no one verbally committed to the Tigers, but during the summer you'll see a lot of stuff pick up, especially after some visits.
Yeah. I guess I meant they're doing well in terms of, they seem to be, at least have these guys on their radar early, and we know how Mizzou's recruiters have been with these previous classes, especially around that St. Louis area. That for me is kind of where sometimes it's made or broken with these in-state guys. I mean, there's not a Ryan Wingo yet emerged in this class, but there's definitely some talented players there, as you guys both said. So yeah, we'll have our eyes on that with 2025. I forgot about the junior days. Those are obviously big for all these schools, and they host a boatload of these young players. Is that where Luther did where Drinkwitz brought out the cars? Wasn't that at like Luther's junior day? Am I remembering that right? That was a while.
He did that for Reichert, Membu, and Green, I believe.
Oh, okay. That was more recent. I couldn't remember when that was, but maybe get the cars out there, Drinkwitz. Get some of these guys flipped. But yeah, we'll have our eyes on 2025. Let's segue before we do quick hits. Let's talk some hoops, men's hoops. Mizzou falling again, dropping to 0-2 in SEC play. 90-77 loss on the road against Kentucky. And I think first takeaway, at least when you look at the score, not as bad as maybe we thought it was going to go. I know Peyton in particular was wondering when we would get frustrated. Let's just say at what time interval that would happen. But Mizzou, had some decent performances. A couple guys, Tamar Bates, Noah Carter, Sean East, all finishing above 15 points. But again, I still think there's some stuff, and I'll let you guys go into it more. I didn't get a chance to watch the full game. I rewatched the highlights, but what went well for Mizzou to keep them in this game at times? I know they cut down a big Kentucky run at one point, and then what again is kind of holding the Tigers back from finishing off a game like this?
Well, I mean, it was another case of not having the personnel to really win this game. I mean, I actually thought it was probably as good a performance as you could get out of this team offensively. I mean, Noah Carter was hitting his shots early. Sean East was doing Sean East things. They went shot for shot with Kentucky early. It was like 14-12 by the U16. And then it's like Dennis had to sub in. He was without Anthony Robinson, so that obviously changed up the subbing a little. But Jesus Carolero, Kurt Lewis get some run, and kind of all just falls apart. I mean, they just don't have the guys. It is what it is this year. I mean, there's nothing you can really do. Not a ton of run for either of Pierce or Butler at all, I noticed. I mean, Mabor Mayock found his way into the game and actually played okay, all considered. He was on the floor for a pretty nice Mizzou run. Tanjay was also out there. Tanjay was plus 11 after the first half, I believe. So he had some good moments. It would certainly help if he can get his feet under him. But again, just the same problems. I mean, late in the game, they could never really. I mean, they had it down to 3 at one point in the second half. After Tamar Bates got to the free throw line, but then right after that, Kentucky just kind of pushed past it. It is what it is, man. They don't have the players to win this game.
Yeah, I would say the final score doesn't really tell the full story. Kentucky really just kind of pulled away at the end when Mizzou was trying to make one last strike within like the last 6 minutes. The passing early on was really poor. After the under 16, there was probably 4 straight possessions of turnovers or just wonky passes. balls getting deflected out of bounds. And credit to Kentucky's defense, but also just poor decision. It was just a lot of poor decision making on Missouri's side. And that really plays into what Peyton was talking about, just not having the right guys on the floor, just not having the guys in general. Nick Honor shot 2 for 10, 2 for 8 from 3. Nothing's really fallen for him, definitely as of late. I did like the resurgence from the offensive side of Noah Carter. Defense still, I mean, you just don't have that big guy, and you have him in the paint. He's just not going to be the one that really stops him. Kentucky's, I mean, defensive rebounding to the offensive rebounding of Mizzou was, I mean, incredible. Kentucky was grabbing every single board, 42 total rebounds on the Missouri side, only 27. Just another thing that just is not going the Tigers' way, and something they just haven't improved on.
Well, yeah, I mean, the rebounding was bad last year too, like you just said. That was what I noticed first, was the discrepancy there. It's just it's so tough because you get these kind of games out of Noah Carter, and if he played that way against Georgia, Mizzou wins that game. You know, I don't think it really was going to make a difference against a Kentucky team. But yeah, Peyton, I'm glad you pointed out Tanjay and Mabor, because the only two people in positive and who ended positively in box plus minus were Tanjay at +8 and Mabor at +4. And it sounded like they were both at least out there for that run that they made and weren't messing up. So I guess that's probably part of it. They were on the court for the most productive stint of the game. But yeah, I mean, just a long way off. You guys are both right. It's kind of the same things we've been saying. I will say there were 2 highlights I saw that kind of stood out to me. There was that Shawnee's pass that I think on the tweet I read was described as literally passing someone open, where he threw the ball to where Noah Carter was supposed to be. Noah Carter realized it in midair and caught it and got an and one out of it. Like Shawnee's, I mean, the plays he makes are just ridiculous. He's just a special player. I'm glad he's getting kind of the season that I think he's earned over his career. With how long it's been. And, you know, with last year, he had more of a bit part role on this team and now kind of has taken over. And then I saw the Aiden Shaw block where he was in the paint and then stepped out and blocked a 3. I thought that was ridiculous. But again, only 2 points, only shot 1 for 3 from the field, did get 2 blocks, but -17 on the floor in 16 minutes. Like, you know, I want to get more from him. Like I was talking last show that he's somebody I really think can be great for this program, but I want to see more out of him moving forward. I don't know if you guys have any other thoughts on those guys, just this game in general. I'm also seeing Jackson Francois played 1 minute.
I don't think that's accurate.
That must be
right at the
right.
end.
Okay.
I never saw it, but
all right. Good. I needed that clarification, but yeah, if you have any other thoughts.
I mean, I just like, there's no way they're gonna like just throw the season and like play the young guys like people want. There's no coach that in the country that would ever do something like that, and nor really should they, unless like it's the last few games of the year. But Boyle, I can't. Nick Honor has to come off the bench at this point. He's just a mess. He is. I mean, Noah Carter has had his struggles too. I think he's at least had stretches where he's looked capable of fulfilling the role that he's kind of had to step into. Nick Honor has really not. I mean, you look at the numbers, and they're not all that bad. I mean, he is shooting at a decent clip, but there's too many possessions that end in like 3 seconds because Nick Honor just takes a really early 3 that's like way off the mark. I mean, and then with his size, he's just always going to be kind of a net negative on the defensive end. There's not a lot he can do about that, but it is really hurting Mizzou in a lot of instances, and I just think a change needs to come there.
Yeah, I don't think a change of scenery would hurt. We were looking at who was in the box on a free throw. And it was John Tanjay, Kurt Lewis, Connor Vanover, and I believe Jesus Carolero. That just doesn't seem like the guys you want right off the bench after the under 16. I think it would just help the team a lot just to have someone like Nick Honor coming off. Even he has been struggling offensively and defensively. You need that veteran. And talking with Gabe, I talked about, not going to move on from these seniors. They deserve like the chance to start every game. At the same time, it's just you have to find some kind of rhythm to show improvements on this team. And Nick Honor's just not really showing much improvements on the offensive side unless the coaches are seeing something we're not.
I have 2 takes. I think one, this team, weirdly to me, it feels like they actually were really hurt by Caleb Grill not being available. As much as like Caleb Grill, or as little, I guess, as Caleb Grill really had an impact before he got injured, apart from galvanizing them to a win over Minnesota after he got ejected. I really think a Sean East, Caleb Grill backcourt with Nick Honor coming off the bench, like you just said, would not be like miles better, but like if Caleb Grill finds his shot, he's just someone who he can be that. He can give you like 15 points on 5 shots. You just let him pull up. He can make threes at like a decent clip. There's no one on this team that can do that. Certainly not Nick Honor. I think Nick Honor is trying to do a little bit too much. I think his role would be better limited. I think you're right. The other thing I have, so they have South Carolina coming up on Saturday. That game's a must win. You look at this SEC. Me and Peyton have talked a lot about this. SEC is not very good this year. I don't know what team Mizzou's better than in the SEC. I really don't. They're second from last right now. I kind of think right now that's where they're going to stay. I really do. Like LSU was really bad early, and now they're 10-5. Like I know it's early in conference play, but they go to South Carolina, and then 3 of their next 4 games are on the road. South Carolina, a team that really likes to punch it in the paint. Mizzou has been killed by teams who can do that, killed by good bigs. You saw what Chiwa on Georgia did to them. Yeah, I worry greatly. I don't think Peyton, I think, tweeted it that you don't think at least this team's going to be above 500. I don't know that they finish above anyone but Vanderbilt in the SEC.
Yeah. I guess the good thing for Missouri is that the SEC is down.
Yeah.
So that'll probably lead to them getting more wins than they might have gotten even last year. They got South Carolina this weekend. I think South Carolina's bad. I think that's a very fake 13-2 record that they have. They just got absolutely mud stomped by Alabama. I kind of think Missouri can get a win there. I'm not saying they will, but I mean, this is really just going to be a hard transition here. I mean, I really do think they finish with they look likely to be playing on Wednesdays in the SEC tournament. That is a big time bummer for them, but it is what it is. I mean, they got new guys coming in next year, very star-studded recruiting class. Gonna have to hope a lot of those guys can hit quickly.
I was intrigued by a comment from the broadcast team last night. Carl Ravitch was the main broadcaster, and they were talking about how they think there could be 9 SEC teams that make it into the NCAA tournament. I think the threshold that they haven't broken is 8 at the moment, and so 9 would be the next big number. And I talk, looking at the standings and looking where these teams kind of have all regressed in their own rights, I just don't see it happening. One more thing I just want to throw out there is that South Carolina isn't that much better of a rebounding team. So we talk about rebounds and getting to the foul line. This might be an opportunity to take that step, especially in SEC play.
Yeah, I think with South Carolina specifically, I do think Dennis Gates will probably outcoach Lamont Paris. As much as I do like Lamont Paris, South Carolina's coach, I think Dennis, he certainly has the ability to outcoach him, and I think that's what'll make the difference for Mizzou. I just like it's more the point that I don't guarantee or even come close to guaranteeing any game for them going forward. Even against Vanderbilt. I mean, is Vanderbilt on the road? I'm looking at their schedule quick. It is on the road. I mean, like, that's not a winnable game if their best players are healthy. So, or I guess it's a winnable game, but not a guarantee is what I meant. But yeah, and then Kenny, like with what you said, I agree with you. That's you have to kind of, I guess, look at the tournament as a whole and where every other conference is at too. But you're right. I don't think I buy that. I guess maybe they will if a lot of the other conferences only have like 1 or 2 good teams, but I don't know. A lot of these SEC teams feel fake. It's a weird year, and I guess better to be bad in a weird year where maybe you consider it a down year as for the conference as a whole. Then Missouri's down at the bottom. Then maybe the SEC is better. Missouri has a better season, makes them look even better. I don't know if there's a way to spin zone that positively. Maybe I'm being too harsh, but I worry greatly about this team moving forward, as I think most fans probably do. But with that, it's a slightly negative note. we'll see. We'll see what the freshmen can do. We'll see what some of these guys can come back. Hopefully Anthony Robinson is able to come back into the fold, and like to see him kind of return to form here moving forward. Oh yeah, and then Kentucky, they just played South Carolina again. That's on Saturday at 2:30. So I guess that kind of serves as our preview. Michi Johnson, he's the guy to watch in South Carolina. He's the best player. Minnesota transfer, good guard.
South Carolina, they're better than last year. I don't want to, even without G.P. Jackson, but I still don't think that's still a lower tier SEC team to me this year. I think I'll give them credit. They are more improved than I thought they'd be, but I mean, Jesus, man, if you don't want to be in the cellar, you got to win this game, especially because you're making up ground now after you lost the Georgia game.
It's a must win, in my opinion, for like if you don't exactly want to be in the cellar. Well put, Peyton. They do have a 63% chance to win by ESPN's match predictor. So maybe I'm being.
I think they had a better chance to beat Georgia by that metric.
Oh well, all right. Well, there you go. So back at home, good to get a win against your home fans. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, Saturday 2:30. You can watch that on SEC Network also. And with that, we will segue and finish the show with quick hits. Okay, quick hits time. Kenny, start us off. Jerseys of the week.
My jersey of the week goes to Dylan Leibel, former walk-on quarterback for the Tigers. We talked about when he entered the transfer portal. The grass might not always be green for him or greener, but he used that tape from practice and some good words from Drinkwitz and got a job, or I guess got a new school to attend to, and that's Tennessee Tech. Add Tennessee Tech to the schools that Mizzou should play in the next few years. Buy out some of these other games and bring this one in so that the Tigers can keep that Tennessee streak alive. They aren't an FBS school, so they aren't an FCS school, excuse me. So, I mean, it's not going to count, but another Tennessee school to keep your eyes on if you're a Dylan Leibel fan.
They should have to beat every Tennessee school to be the Tennessee State champs. Everyone, not just the FBS.
If you're a Dylan Leibel fan, what a question. Or what a statement. My jersey of the week is going to be Kevin Peoples from Carroll College. Kevin Peoples, he was Missouri's nominee for the Broyles Award. Not Blake Baker, not Kirby Moore, none of them. It was Kevin Peoples. He coaches the defensive ends, the outside of the D line for Missouri. And originally this was supposed to be because LSU hired Bo Davis from Texas, so it appeared they were no longer going to go after Kevin Peoples. That is not the case. From Football Scoop on Twitter, they are still going after Kevin Peoples to maybe try and do what Missouri did on their D-line, having like Al Davis coach the interior D-lineman, Kevin Peoples worries about the outside. So still got to keep an eye out. It seems like this is the only assistant that has really had any buzz about leaving following Baker to LSU. I don't know, man. I don't see this one happening, really. Kevin Peoples, it wasn't really, they had no connection to Baker before they worked together at Mizzou. I feel like we mentioned last time, Missouri is going to go cheaper than Baker at defensive coordinator just because they don't need to pay $2 million to get a quality D coordinator. And that'll probably be able to let them give raises to guys like Kevin Peoples, other guys that may one day have kind of a situation where they could be poached. I think this is completely uneducated guess for me. I would guess that Kevin Peoples winds up staying, but it is worth mentioning because it is out there.
Yeah, good news. The Blake Baker situation and what could go on there. Yeah, hopefully ends up staying. You need to give yourself some more respect there, Peyton. Your guesses are educated. You're very educated.
No, it's man. Like
informed guesses.
Informed and uninformed. That's fair. I guess
it's an uninformed guess. Like I have
you don't have a source
by the media.
You don't have a source telling you Kevin Peoples is staying.
No, I don't.
If you did have a source, you would think that source would tell you that Kevin Peoples is probably going to stay. Hypothetically.
I just think Kevin Peoples is going to get a raise and stay. Like that just seems like the most likely outcome to me.
I'm just trying to put Peyton's brain in pretzel. My jersey of the week goes to Connor Stallions. I I'm giving it to Connor Stallions. I'm sure he played football at some point. He doesn't have a Wikipedia yet. He's not that famous. But I'm giving it to Connor Stallions because he was at a bar in Houston during the national championship. There was a video of him. A guy was bringing him a bucket of beers. There were people slapping him on the back in the video. Obviously recognized who he was. Brought the Wolverines a championship. They took down Washington to restore the order in the Big Ten in the final year of the 4-team college football playoffs. So I don't know. Does Connor Stallions get a ring? Maybe they give it to him in secret so that there's no controversy. But yes, that's my jersey of the week because he, he wrote a manifesto. He's the ultimate Michigan football guy. He wanted them to win and he got it. Despite the cheating, Jim Harbaugh came back from the dead, won a championship thanks to Mr. Stallions.
Yeah, I thought you had something funny to say, Peyton. It looked like you were.
I was also waiting
thinking
for
of
Peyton.
something. Yeah,
I felt like
he was
cooking.
I couldn't think of anything.
He was in the stands at the Rose Bowl.
He was.
I was a little bit surprised that no one comped him a ticket for this game, but good on him.
Yeah, congrats.
I went to the football.
Why are we congratulating him right now, guys? Why are we saying good for him and congratulating him?
I mean, if your team won the national championship, it's a pretty good feeling.
He's the ultimate fall guy. Like all he wanted to do was all he wanted to do is get Michigan wins. Jim Harbaugh didn't say they cheated. Said they were innocent. You heard him after the game. Banners fly forever, Peyton.
I always think you should fire innocent people, definitely.
What's your Fantastic Four picks, Kenny? What's the situation? We got playoffs. It's playoff time.
Yeah, we got playoff time. Let everyone know. Disclosure: we are recording here on the Wednesday, so the Bet Online odds. Disclaimer: they could shift. They've already shifted from the last time I checked in on them. Current standings right now: Peyton, you are 41, 27, and 4. I am at 38, 30, and 4, and Jack, you are at 35, 33, and 4. It looks like it's over for you, Jack. I don't know why you didn't pick opposite of Peyton on every single one of these, but you almost did.
That would have been smart. You're not wrong. Oh, well.
So first game on the docket, you can't change it. First game on the docket, staying here in Houston. The Browns are favored by 2.5 points against the Texans. Peyton and I are taking the logical pick because CJ Stroud is back. He didn't get to face the Browns the first time around. The Texans are also just the best team in the playoffs. So we're taking the Texans. Jack, why are you taking the Browns?
Joe Flacco. I mean, he's elite. He's an elite quarterback. I don't know. I kind of just like the Browns in this game. I think they're going to win. I don't know. Even on the road, I do love it's not a knock on your Texans, Kenny. I love what the Texans have done. I won't be sad if the Texans win. I kind of like that both of these teams, one of them is going to get a chance to play in the divisional round. But I like Joe Flacco. He's got the experience. CJ Stroud, I think the moment's going to get too big for him. And when it doesn't, I'm going to live to regret that because it's never been too big for him all year. You know what? That's the hill I'm going to die on. That's the hill I'm going to die on.
If you want to compare
you guys are cheering for an Ohio State quarterback, by the way.
Yeah, okay. There's no such thing as helmet scouting. So
if you want to compare an NFL team to Mizzou, I'm going to say it's the Texans. A lot of blue collar players getting together, counted out. I don't care if they had the number 2 or number 3 overall picks. They were counted out. And this team is just like Mizzou, getting together.
They do have a good defense too. But
all
you know what?
Blue collar millionaires.
Exactly.
Give me Flack sanity. Why not?
I just think it's hard to beat the same team twice. So I'm gonna go with the Texans.
That's fair.
Especially when CJ Stroud wasn't around the first time. Second game on the docket, going to KC. This one's gonna be a cold one. Shout out to all you guys bundled up in the state of Missouri right now. The Chiefs are favored by 4.5 points at home against the Dolphins. Jack and myself are taking the Chiefs. Peyton, you're taking the Dolphins. You can go first.
Yeah, I figure I got a lead here, so I might as well try and really ice this competition this week if I can get this and the next one right. But I think people are losing sight of the fact that the Dolphins are still a damn good team. 5 is a lot of points in this game. And especially, like you said, cold game, people are going to be like, well, the Dolphins play in Miami. The real strength of the Dolphins this year, has come from a lot of ground and pound on just the run game has been excellent for them. I think they're going to be able to control the pace of this game. I think their defense, I know they're super duper banged up. I just think the Dolphins last year with Skylar Thompson, they had to play the Bills. Everybody thought that was going to be a blowout. The Dolphins had the ball with the chance to win the game at the end. with Skylar Thompson at QB. So I think the Dolphins are going to shock some people. I think they're going to put up a fight in this game.
That was a good argument. I actually like that argument for Peyton. I don't know. I guess I did pull out it's going to be this game might like break records with how cold it might be down in Kansas City. I do like Devon Achane at running back for the Dolphins, but I just think it's Patrick Mahomes. He's going to come alive. They're super injured on defense. They're a really top-heavy team, and a lot of their stars are banged up. So I lean toward the Chiefs just at home in the cold. I think Patrick Mahomes clicks, at least in this game, and the Chiefs pull it out.
Weather is the great equalizer, man. That's all I'm going to say.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't seen Mike McDaniel as the head coach really pull off something at the end of the season with the Dolphins. I know last year was a little bit troubling because he didn't have Tua, but this team has really just faded off the last 2 seasons after some pretty good starts. And I don't know. I need to see the Dolphins be able to, go into the playoffs hot for once.
This does feel like the fraud bowl. Like both these, I don't really like either of these teams. They've both had some weird moments this year.
For sure. Okay, this is the probably the biggest one. Biggest game that we have right now. Lions are favored by 3 points at home against the Rams. Pretty much a pick 'em here. Jack and myself are taking the Rams. Peyton, you're taking the Lions. I like Matthew Stafford back home.
Yeah, this was one of the tougher games we've had to pick all season. There's so many layers to this game. It's indoor Goff facing his old coach that kind of decided he didn't really believe in him, which wound up being justified because they won the Super Bowl with Matt Stafford immediately. But Matt Stafford, going back to his old stomping grounds, I went back and forth on this one. I really only went the Lions because Kenny went with the Rams, and I want this to be, because in theory I could get the lead. I could just pick what Kenny picks every week and win. That's no fun. So let's have some fun. And you know what? The Lions, I really think, are still... I think they righted the ship at the end. They should have beat the Cowboys, if not for some utter debauchery at the end. So yeah, it's indoor Goff. Goff has been to a Super Bowl. He's been tested in the playoffs. I don't think he's going to falter here. I think the Lions get at least one win. And I'll give credit to the Rams, though. If I had a vote for Coach of the Year, I would give a long, hard look at Sean McVay. Nobody elevates the floor of a team like Sean McVay. It's unbelievable what he's done. But still,
he's going to retire.
Yeah, exactly.
Came back. Kenny, did you make the graphic already?
Yeah, you can't change it. It's already scheduled.
Oh, well, yeah, then I'll change my thing back. You guys didn't notice. I picked the Rams to change from pay. I changed the Rams to change from pay. I originally also had the Lions. I was going to try and pull a fast one, but Kenny made the graphic. He was a step ahead of me. I agree with Peyton. I think the Lions get it done. It feels like they're kind of on a good destiny. Them and the Bills are 2 teams I really want to see go far after the seasons they've had. I like Jared Goff in this one. Give me the Lions to beat out the Rams. But again, very difficult game. The Rams have proved to be a very, very tough team, like Peyton said. If the Colts beat the Texans and went to the playoffs, my Coach of the Year vote would have gone to Shane Steichen, but I think Sean McVay has a very good argument to take that. But give me Dan Campbell and Detroit.
Okay. Last game on the docket. We've seen
you have the Rams, Kenny. Hold on. You have the Rams. What do you?
Yeah, I just said I like Matthew Stafford against his old team, his old stomping grounds.
Revenge game. That'd be so sad. Would you, as a Lions fan, would you hate Matthew Stafford, or like?
I think I would be very mad.
I think I would be mad.
If I was a Lions fan, I would hope that Matt Stafford has the worst game of his life on Sunday.
Yeah.
Last game on the docket. We've seen this one before in the playoffs, not too long ago in 2022. The Eagles on the road against the Buccaneers. Eagles are favored by 3 points. Definitely a better Eagles team than it was 2 years ago, but still not the best Eagles team coming into the playoffs. Peyton and myself, we're taking the Eagles. Jack, you're taking the Bucs. Why is that?
Kind of like Peyton with trying to be a little different. I kind of want to rock with the Bucs here, but like you hinted at, Kenny, Eagles have been awful to end the season. There's talks about firing Sirianni when he just took him to the Super Bowl and now is having the year that he's having. I think they have some record ever since they beat the Chiefs and he yelled at the Chiefs fans. They've been horrible since then. I got the Bucks. Give me Baker at least to cover. But maybe the Eagles wind up winning by 1 or 2. But I'm going to take the Bucks to cover here and keep this one close. I really just don't trust the Eagles right now after all. I even favored. I'm almost questioning that with the Bucks being at home for this game. I think the Bucks will keep it very, very slim, even if the Eagles win. Even if the Eagles win this game, give me the Bucks to hold it close and at least cover, if not upset the defending, I guess, Super Bowl appearers in the Eagles.
Yeah, whichever one of these teams wins is getting pulverized next round. So
who would they have to play? I guess who would the Bucks? The Bucks would play. I guess it's the highest remaining team.
Bucks would have to play. No, the Bucks are the 4th seed. So.
Oh yeah, they are higher. Duh.
So I don't know for sure. I just think these are the 2 worst teams in the NFC.
Yeah, one of them's
on,
getting
on the
boat raced.
playoff side.
Yeah, one of them's getting boat raced by like San Francisco. We'll see. Sean East, what's the next thing?
I like no cap, and he's the main bird.
Sean East, main bird of the week. Kenny.
My Sean East main bird of the week goes to Tiger Woods. He's hit a couple birdies before. There's your bird tie. Tiger Woods, no longer a Nike guy. A lot of PR talk in his post from January 8th about how they're parting ways. I'm interested to see what the brand is going to be. I think maybe he just pulls out his own TW brand, his own little Tiger Woods. Not the same old Nike logo that we've known for years and even decades, but I'm interested to see what this new move is for Tiger Woods.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, like it's exciting to see. I know wasn't he planning on doing he was planning on having his own golf league or something at one point that he was trying to get off the ground. So cool to see that he's doing a bunch of different ventures. Peyton,
my jersey of the week.
Nope.
Former Cardinals head coach Cliff Kingsbury. I want him to be the new Bears OC after Luke Getsy was fired. Save me, please, Luke. Not Luke Getsy. Save me, Cliff Kingsbury.
Even after the Johnny documentary, you still want him?
Yeah, he looked like a baller in that doc.
He kind of did, actually.
No, he didn't. Nolan, he looked like a
yeah,
jerk.
He did.
No, he didn't. He looked like a
He's
total
defending him from
jerk.
the hangovers.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Baller move. No, he did look like a jerk. You're right.
He definitely is a dirty bird, but this week he is your main bird, not your dirty bird, Peyton. But we can definitely call him your dirty bird once he gets back from Thailand.
He's your main bird. You also said it was your jersey of the week. Did you hear yourself say that?
And then you said dirty bird.
Oh, well, he did play for Texas Tech. So there you go.
Oh, Christ.
No, he's my dirty bird.
Peyton's struggling on Wednesday.
He's my dirty bird.
It's not your dirty bird.
Oh, is it Shawnee's dirty bird?
Eat off. Yeah. No, good job, Kenny. Good job. My main bird of the week. I'm sticking in the NFL. We're going Pete Carroll for my main bird of the week. Pete Carroll. Just today, we're recording on Wednesday. He's parting ways as Seattle's head coach. Pretty shocking. This is a big move. I don't think anyone was really expecting this to happen until Pete Carroll likely retired. He is a little bit older. He's staying on as a advisor to the organization, but he won't be the head coach. So yeah, this is interesting. I mean, I love the Seahawks. They're my team. Pete Carroll won a Super Bowl, making him the main bird because, just a great couple of years. We'll see what happens. I don't really know if I have like a favorite to get the coaching job right now. I don't want Jim Harbaugh.
Quinn.
Yeah, Dan Quinn would be kind of fun. Had the Legion of Boom defense, but thank you, Pete. Gave me some of my best sports memories growing up with the Seahawks. But yeah, not the head coach anymore. So thank you to Pete. Yeah, it was a big shock, and I don't want Lovie Smith, Kenny, as much as you keep pushing that narrative.
He's a junkie.
Best thing you learned this week.
The past 2 head coaches, but you said Lovie Smith. You quoted David Culley. So I'm going.
Oh yeah, he did.
Oh, I thought you said David Culley.
No, he said Lovie Smith. I said Lovie Smith. Yeah. Wow, that was a great main bird segment, guys. Best thing you learned, Peyton, not your jersey or your dirty bird or your ratio.
Jersey bird I learned this week. Scotty Barnes, guys. Jersey bird I learned this week. Scotty Barnes is the future face of the NBA. I learned this last night after Toronto Raptors head coach Darko Rajakovic. I believe I said that right. He went on an awesome tirade against the refereeing after a very lopsided free throw margin for the Lakers in their 1-point win over the Raptors last night. He included the line, Scotty Barnes is the future face of the NBA, which I think we can all agree is fair. That's absolutely probably true. No, but really, I don't see why people are making fun of a head coach really gassing up his pretty promising young player. But it was kind of a funny statement.
That is pretty funny. Scotty Barnes. It's like
Kenny,
saying
what's
about,
your
like,
Jersey bird you learned?
Murray. Jersey bird you learned?
NBA doesn't start till June. I don't know why you guys keep talking about this stuff.
Well, my Jersey bird
It's
you
like the
learned
first
is
time
going to
we've
be bad.
mentioned it in 3 weeks, I think.
Best thing I learned this week, Baby Gronk's father reached out to me on X, formerly known as Twitter, asking me to retweet one of Baby Gronk's posts about Terry Bussey, who's a Texas A&M commit and LSU target at the moment. And I didn't respond. Still following me, though. Man, I really feel bad for this kid. I didn't know this until today. Did you know Baby Gronk's real name is Madden?
Yes.
Are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
Yeah, after the game. That's like why.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Official visits coming up, though, for these schools. Michigan, Colorado, USC, Michigan State, wild card in there, and Ole Miss.
Hold on.
Keep an eye out for the class of 2031 tight end.
Yeah. Official visits, all right.
2031.
Yeah, he will reclassify.
Good job, Kenny. Good job, Kenny, for not retweeting.
I do want to point out, I know I wasn't the only LSU person his father sent the post to, because the class of 2024 kicker signee that LSU has reposted it. So I know that there were a couple other people.
He got to the kicker. It's always the weakest of the brood. Yeah, it's tough. He's a weirdo. My Jersey bird you learned this week. Going back to the NBA, Kenny. Sorry. This comes from Shams. Netflix is creating a new NBA documentary series modeled after its NFL quarterback show. And they had the 5 players chosen for it. It is Domantas Sabonis, Anthony Edwards, LeBron, Jason Tatum, and Jimmy Butler. So they're going to have an NBA kind of docu thing following, I assume, them from the season that's going on right now. It'd be pretty cool. I loved the quarterback one. So hopefully it's as well done as that. Seeing more behind the scenes of LeBron, like, I've already started to think about the documentaries that we're going to get once he's retired. So kind of cool that at least for him, we're getting it a little ahead of time. I wish they did it more like quarterback, though. Like, they picked like a role player, like someone who's like going from the G League back to the NBA. I have a certain former Los Angeles Laker that they could use for that, but Alfred Payton is a good one. Or maybe like Dwight Howard, go over to China,
Nope.
do that part of
Alfred Payton.
Fair enough. But yeah, I kind of wish they did it like that, because that would have been cool. Also, just the random, like, I don't know, the random player getting the spotlight would have been funny, especially for NBA Twitter. But
like Alfred Payton.
Why are you stuck on Alfred Payton?
I don't know.
Okay. All right. Good show, gentlemen. Peyton.
This one comes from the Today Show, our favorite TV series. Knowlton, how can you tell if a pig is hot?
How can you tell if a pig is hot?
It's bacon.
Oh yeah, I was getting there. I was gonna
Hanger.
That was a good one. Get back here. Good show. Good show. Stop making me the solo screen. I need to remove your ability to change the format of this. Good show, everyone. We'll be back Monday. We'll recap men's basketball versus South Carolina. Hopefully we're not talking about like a true doomsday scenario, the fire everybody sort of scenario for Missouri men's basketball. I'm just kidding. They shouldn't fire anybody, but that'll do it. We'll be back Monday. Hope everyone has a fun, safe weekend. Enjoy the South Carolina game. Enjoy Super Wildcard Weekend. We're excited for it. And go Bucks. We'll see you guys Monday.